Hi guys, we're back here in the bunker again, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my emergency radio setup. And it's not comprised of a fancy Yaesu or anything like that. It's typically comprised of either the UV5R, because it's cheap and I could just like leave this thing wherever I want and not have to take my Yaesu and just like drop it in a bag that gets abused. So it's either going to be this bad boy or the UV3R that is in another one of my videos, which is transmit and receive on both VHF and UHF. But there's another gem in here, and that gem is a radio that has a clone. I've got a charging cord here for it. Has a clone made by Texan. And there's a couple other things in here that I'll show you guys, but for the most part I want to focus on the radio. So I'll bring the radio up and we'll get to the accessories in just a couple of minutes. The radio is the GP-5 by CountyComm. Now it comes in this very 80s style pouch. These radios are actually ones that are purchased by the U.S. State Department for embassies. CountyComm sells a version of this that is packaged with U.S. government compliant packaging that is RF shielding, and it is also vacuum sealed and sealed on the edges so that they can be preserved. I think that version comes with chargeable batteries as well. So what I've got here is the CountyComm GP-5 with single sideband. These things run about 90 bucks, and that's really, really cheap for a, I don't know if you can see there, you can see, I'll go through the menu, but that's really, really cheap for a shortwave receiver with single sideband. Typically, you're going to pay something like, I don't know, other than the Texan, which is a clone of this. This is actually probably a Texan, but the government can't buy from Texan. They're a Chinese company, TECSUN. So CountyComm, I think, maybe rebrands these, does some other things to them. You can see their cage code right here, which is required by the government to get on the GSA schedule. It's got the battery size. This has an alarm clock. It's a general purpose world receiver, and from CountyComm. This actually is made in China, like I said, but just like the Texan, but it's rebranded and it's got some, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. But these from CountyComm are a really great radio. They're a nice handheld size. You'll see a lot of shortwave receivers are desktop, and they might not be very accommodating for hiking and things like that. But this has a little pocket clip. The only thing about this radio at face value that is really wrong with it, it's not very rugged. So, I mean, if you drop this thing, hey, you're probably going to break it. But just from an anatomy standpoint, like you can take this clip off. You've got the antenna here. I believe this is about 2 foot long from end to end. You have your AM antenna, which is a ferrite antenna that you can put on that comes with the radio, and then a headphone jack. Tuning knob on the side. This thing is kind of a pain to tune. We'll get to that in a second. You got your volume, and then you've got your DCN. One of the really neat things about this radio that I really enjoy is that whereas I really like rechargeable batteries, and I have some that I run in this, you can plug this thing in and it's set to charging mode, and you can just charge the batteries while they're in this. It'll charge them for you. You don't have to put them in your external charger. On the interface, you can see the time here. This actually needs adjusted. I have not adjusted it since daylight savings time, and you can see your current temperature as well as battery status. So I'm just going to throw this thing out here, turn it on. It's got really nice, like a bright interface, as you can see. I'm just going to turn this down. You've got, you know, you can set your time, You can hit your display button to change your display. It's got something called easy tuning mode, so you can kind of skip to the things, and it makes it a little bit easier than just, for example, if you're in shortwave, you could imagine how long it takes to get to a specific frequency. You have your FM, your shortwave. You can also do step mode, where you can go through. It's got plenty of memory modes. It's also really helpful because you can set it to a scan like this in your basically finding mode is what I like to call it, and then it will stop when it gets to it gets a hit on an active station. You can cycle lower sideband, upper sideband, which is really cool because you're able to that's that benefit of getting single sideband. A lot of other receivers don't have single sideband for the price point that this is. And then of course you can this is one of the memory buttons here, so you can save your channels. It does have an alarm mode. That's memory mode, where you can, once you hit memory, you can cycle through channels that you've saved. And I think I only have 15 programmed in here now, but yeah, for the most part, it's a really solid radio. If you're new to shortwave, which I'm not new to shortwave, but if you're new to shortwave, it'll take some tinkering with. To be honest, the interface is easily forgettable if you don't use it for a long time. There are short presses and long presses that do certain things, but once you have your memory in here, if you want to go in and look through your memory, that makes things a lot easier. Now, I'm a ham radio operator, and I have single sideband, and I can listen to all kinds of stuff because I have an all-band radio. However, this thing is still nice for traveling because guess what? I don't have my HF transceiver when I travel. So it's nice having something like this that I can just turn on. And if I want to go to a frequency that hams might be on, of course I have a ham radio with me. But if I want to go to anything on HF, I'm not going to be able to do that with my handheld, my HT. So I think I can probably get a channel or two on here. There's a little bit of something coming in there. I don't know if we'll get anything because I am in basically a bunker. But for the most part, really solid radio. Once you get the interface down, it's really easy to operate. I really enjoy this thing. If you're new to shortwave, it's a really good experimental radio to have. Just to mess around with. There's also, I failed to mention it, but there are some, ways that you can skip around here. And then it'll go up, the scan mode, so you can kind of dictate what it's doing. And that way you're not messing around with the tuning knob the whole time. And you're going to hear the typical, odd sounds from shortwave. But one of the things I would suggest getting if you're interested in a radio like this is some of the antennas. The GP-5 comes with the ferrite antenna, and it also comes with a long wire antenna. It also comes with a pretty decent instruction manual. By the way, this is the basically Faraday cage RFID blocking pouch from CountyComm. You can see the copper sheathing in there. I like to keep some stuff in these. Normally the radio's in one of these too, to protect from sort of like an EMP attack. But anyway, so this is going to be your high sensitivity AM antenna. This is a ferrite antenna. So inside of it, I won't crack this thing open, but basically you've got ferrite wrapped in copper, and you get a really good reception with this thing. I will say, if you buy one of these separately, like a bigger one, don't put it on this this radio. The bigger ferrite bar antennas are too heavy, and they will damage this this input jack. I'm sorry, this output jack. So these are really great. They give you great reception for AM. The other antenna that they include is the long wire, and they give you a pair of headphones, which are right here. These are the, basically, if you've bought a Texan or any Chinese radio, these are the same ones that come with it. Very basic, but I do keep them in here in case I need them, because this thing travels with me no matter where I go. Here's the long wire antenna. Of course, you've got your clamp that goes on this antenna right here. It pretty easily just like snaps on, boom, and then you can clip the other end onto really anything that's up high. You could even put this on something heavy and throw it up on a tree, assuming you can get it down. I did go the extra mile though, and I got the easier way of doing things, which is the actual retractable antenna. So you can like pull this thing out, but then when you're done, you just kind of wrap it up. And again, it's got the input on it. The input on it is, you know, like clamp onto your antenna, boom, goes on there, and then you can just throw this thing up anywhere you want, or you can get a little hook and clip it on here, some sort of clip, and just put it on whatever high, you know, place you've got. These antennas are really good. They're basically the same antenna. This is just in a retractable package. So, I mean, either way you look at it, these CountyComm radios are really great for the money. You might think 90 bucks is like expensive just to buy like an alarm clock shortwave receiver. And don't get me wrong, if it were just a shortwave receiver, I would say, yeah, 90 bucks is a lot of money. But these things operate extremely well. They're not rugged, but they're feature packed because they've got single sideband. They've also got, you know, at least a reputable backing behind CountyComm. These are, you know, really well received radios, no pun intended. So for 90 bucks, you really can't go wrong, because if you're going to get single sideband on anything else, it's going to be a bigger unit, which that might be fine with you. But like I said, at the same time, you may not want a bigger unit for shortwave listening or for emergency situations listening. You may want something like this that's smaller form factor. You know, the belt clip's not great, but it works. And, you know, single sideband, 40, 45 bucks cheaper than anyone else is really great. Aside from that, you know, one of the things that you'll probably get curious about when you look at these is, hey, like, does it have NOAA weather radio? It does not. It doesn't go to that frequency or those frequencies. I would suggest, you know, if you want weather radio, get a Baofeng, you know, get your license, right? First, get your license. Because having a ham radio is great. I know in an emergency situation, you don't have to have your license, but get your license. Of course, you can always listen. You don't have to have a license to listen, but get your license just in case, because you're going to get curious, right? You're going to hear people talking on nets. You're going to get curious. So, carrying 2 radios isn't that bad. Like I said, I can fit all this stuff in one simple MOLLE pouch the size of my hand, with a small radio pouch on the front for whatever Baofeng I've got. And I throw it and I forget about it. Keep extra batteries for this, but keep it charged. You know, bring a charger with you. Keep a power brick in your bag. I always do. I keep a power brick here, as well as you know, some extra backup stuff. So for the most part, like I said, really enjoy this radio. I highly suggest it. I'm not endorsed or paid or sponsored by CountyComm. I just really love their products, and I've used them professionally before, as well as buying them in you know, on my own dime. So with that, any other questions, feel free to reach out.